All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tracing the history of the single biggest sporting event on the planet. We're going to stick to the facts, the data, and those absolute jaw-dropping moments that turn this tournament from a really humble, small-scale idea into the absolute juggernaut it is today. We are talking, of course, about the FIFA World Cup.
Think about this for a second. Billions. Every 4 years, literally billions of people drop whatever they're doing to watch just one game. It's this crazy crucible where completely unknown players become absolute legends overnight. Nations actually unite, and history gets rewritten with a single goal. It is way more than just a sports tournament, you know? It's a massive global cultural phenomenon.
But what's really wild is how it all started. Today, you've got over 200 countries battling it out fiercely just to grab a handful of spots in the final. But back in 1930, the whole shebang kicked off with just 13 teams. Yeah, 13. Back then, international travel was incredibly difficult and super expensive, so a lot of those teams actually traveled for weeks by boat just to get there.
So Part 1, the birth of a dream.
See, before 1930, football was basically just a side event at the Olympic Games. But FIFA president Jules Rimet had this massive, ambitious vision. He championed a dedicated, standalone tournament with one powerful goal: to unite nations through the sport of football. And that dream finally became a reality when Uruguay hosted the very first World Cup in 1930. They ended up beating Argentina 4-2 in the final to become the first ever historic champions. History was officially in motion.
And you can see the momentum building almost immediately. After Uruguay's win, Italy steps up, grabbing the title in 1934 and then successfully defending it in 38. But then, the world was plunged into World War II. Because of that devastating global conflict, the tournaments scheduled for 1942 and 1946 had to be completely canceled. So for 12 long years, the world just didn't have a World Cup.
When the tournament finally made its comeback in 1950, oh man, it brought unparalleled drama. Hosted in Brazil, literally everyone expected the home nation to easily take the crown. Instead, we got one of football's all-time biggest shocks. Uruguay defeated Brazil right in front of a staggering nearly 200,000 fans at the Maracanã Stadium. It was this heartbreaking defeat for the home crowd, forever etched into history as the Maracanazo.
Moving right along to Part 2, the rise of legends.
After 1950, unpredictability quickly became the tournament's absolute trademark. I mean, if 1950 was a shock, 1954 was a flat-out miracle. Now known as the Miracle of Bern, West Germany managed to defeat a mighty, heavily favored Hungarian team, handing the world stage one of football's greatest surprise victories. But that unpredictability kind of took a backseat to pure, unmatched dominance just 4 years later. In 1958, this 17-year-old kid named Pelé makes his debut, wins his first World Cup, and becomes an instant global superstar. Brazil went on to defend that title in 1962, and by 1970, Pelé was leading what a lot of people consider to be the greatest team in football history. Their beautiful, attacking style of play didn't just win trophies, it literally inspired entire generations.
Now, nestled right between those massive Brazilian victories, the tournament headed over to England in 1966. And the host nation actually claimed their first, and so far only, World Cup title. That final match was completely defined by Geoff Hurst, who scored a famous hat trick. What's absolutely wild to think about is that Hurst's hat trick in a final remains a record that still stands to this day.
Which brings us to Part 3, New Heroes and Eras.
The decades that followed saw this rapid evolution in how the game was played. In 1974, the tactical brilliance of total football helped West Germany win at home. Then 1978 saw Argentina lift their first trophy, followed by West Germany winning again in 1990. Fast forward to 1994, the U.S. hosted for the very first time, which ended with Brazil winning their fourth title on penalties against Italy. And to round out the century, 1998 saw France host and win their first title, led by the absolute magic of Zinedine Zidane.
But right in the middle of that timeline sits the pure mythology of the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. Honestly, this tournament belonged entirely to one man, Diego Maradona. Against England, he scored the infamous Hand of God goal. And then, literally just minutes later, he produces the goal of the century, dribbling past almost the entire opposing team. Argentina became world champions, and Maradona cemented himself as an immortal football legend.
On to Part 4, the 21st century. The new millennium brought the tournament to entirely new corners of the globe. In 2002, South Korea and Japan became the first ever co-hosts, and Brazil cemented their record 5th win, making them the most successful nation in World Cup history. Then, 2006 gave us Italy winning a dramatic final in Germany, a game mostly remembered for Zidane's shocking headbutt. And in 2010, they broke new ground again, with South Africa becoming the first African nation to host, ending with Spain lifting their very first trophy thanks to that extra-time winner by Andreas Iniesta.
7-1. Just let the sheer disbelief of that scoreline sink in for a second. When the tournament returned to Brazil in 2014, Germany delivered this unforgettable, absolute dismantling of the host nation in the semifinal. It was a result literally nobody could have ever predicted, and it still remains one of the most shocking matches in modern history.
And Germany actually followed up that massive 7-1 upset by going all the way, defeating Argentina in extra time in the 2014 final thanks to a goal by Mario Götze. That paved the way for 2018 in Russia, where France defeated Croatia to reclaim glory with their second title. But honestly, the biggest takeaway from 2018 might have been the explosive rise of a young superstar named Kylian Mbappé, who firmly announced himself as the new face of world football.
And finally, Part 5, the greatest final and beyond.
The 2022 World Cup in Qatar delivered what so many fans and analysts are calling the greatest final ever played. Argentina faced defending champions France in a wildly thrilling match that ended in an unforgettable 3-3 draw. Ultimately, Argentina took it on penalties. And that victory allowed Lionel Messi to finally capture the one trophy missing from his legendary career, giving us this perfect storybook ending to his World Cup journey.
And all of this momentum is carrying right into the future. The next chapter, the 2026 World Cup, is going to be the biggest in history. The format is expanding massively, jumping from 32 teams up to 48. And instead of just one host nation, it's going to be hosted jointly by 3 North American nations, the United States, Canada, and Mexico. More teams means new nations are going to dream, new stars are going to rise, and entirely new legends will be born.
It's crazy to think we went from just 13 teams in 1930 to billions of viewers today. From Pelé and Maradona to Zidane and Messi, this tournament truly is a celebration of passion and the beautiful game. So I want to hear from you. Which World Cup moment is your absolute favorite? Drop a comment below and let us know which piece of history left the biggest mark on you. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer through football history, and I'll catch you in the next one.